What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on another episode of Man Mindset. This is episode number 3. So, thank you for joining. All right, today, fellas, let's talk about it. Fatherhood. One of the realest, toughest, most rewarding jobs that you'll ever have, in my opinion. For me, before I became a dad, I know my life was all about my grind, my goals, ambitions. Um, I was very self centered. Um, but the moment that I held my daughter for the first time, I would say everything changed in that very moment. It wasn't just, it didn't feel like it was about me anymore. Just every decision, every move, everything from that point forward, it had a bigger purpose to it. With that being said, today I broke this episode down into 5 different parts here. So, first, I want to talk about the expectations versus reality of being a dad, and then go into the values that we want to pass on, how our own fathers or lack thereof shaped us, balancing fatherhood, career, and self care, and then finally the fears, the pressure, and the moments that make it all worthwhile. So, whether you're a dad out there right now, or you're about to become one, or just thinking of the kind of man you want to be someday, this one's for you. So, let's get into it. All right. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about what fatherhood means to me. After my daughter was born, yeah, I'll say this: the first time that I held her, her eyes were wide open. I was surprised how wide open they were. Just the way she was staring back at me the first time I held her, almost like she already knew who I was. And like I was saying earlier, something changed in me in that moment. Something clicked. Um, but I would say fatherhood um, didn't just make me see life differently. I would say it also made me a better husband, because all of a sudden it wasn't just about me or my career anymore. It was about us. It was about my family, our future, and the kind of example that I wanted to set. And I will say it definitely made me more patient, um, more present, and more aware of how much my wife and I truly are in this together. And I'll be honest, my expectations before having a kid versus the reality of fatherhood were like night and day. Um, my expectations, I'll say, I was definitely expecting not to have any sleep, lots of diapers, and just total chaos. I mean, I'd say I treated it like a mission, making sure that we had everything we needed, diapers stocked, um, all the supplies ready to go. And I just had this mindset like, okay, we're ready. We got this. We got everything we need. Baby shower was successful. We got everything on our on our registry, and it's going to be tough, but we got it. And I just assumed that somehow things were going to work itself out. But reality of it is, the yeah, reality, man. Um, Fatherhood was so much more than just sleepless nights and diaper changes. Um, it's truly the way that, when those tiny arms are wrapped around you and your heart just melts. And for me, it's even more so in those random, you ever get those random unprompted moments when they just look at you in the eye and they say, Dada, I love you. And my heart just melts. I don't know, just tugs at the heart. Um, and in that moment, nothing in the world matters. Just hearing that is will make my day any day. That it's also the late night rocking sessions when I used to rock her to sleep. Now we just put her down. We tell a story and we put her down. But when she was a baby, when she was an infant, um, she would fall asleep on my chest, and I would just sit there soaking it all in, because one day they're not going to fit in your arms anymore like that. So it's definitely coming home after a long, exhausting day, and the second they see you, their face lights up, and you're all of a sudden the most important person in the world to them. And honestly, the best part is you don't have to do anything to earn it. They don't care about, you know, how what we did at work today, how successful we are, what kind of car we're driving. To them, you're just dad, their protector, their safe place. They're basically their hero. I expected the hard parts, but I wasn't ready for just how much pure love comes with being a father. And it was really humbling, overwhelming, and honestly, the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I want to talk about a story. This story is about Denzel Washington. And for those of you who don't know who he is, you're missing out because he's probably one of the greatest actors of all time. Um, but if you ask him his most important job, he's going to tell you it's being a dad. So, despite all his successes, he always put family first. He made sure his kids grew up knowing discipline, hard work, and faith mattered more than fame or money. And one of the things he said that really stuck with me was this: the most important thing you can do as a man is take care of your family. Because at the end of the day, what you do for yourself dies with you. But what you do for others, especially your kids, that's your legacy. Wow, that's real. So basically, it's not about being perfect, it's about leaving something behind that actually matters. Okay, next topic here is how my relationship with my dad shaped the way I parent. Man, so if anyone out there, if you had a complicated relationship with your dad, you know it sticks with you whether you want it to or not, right? It affects how you see fatherhood, how you handle tough moments, and even how you talk to your own kids. Um, for me, it made me really intentional about the kind of father that I want to be. And I don't want my kid to ever question where they stand with me. I don't want them to have to wonder if I love them, or if I'm proud of them, or if they're good enough. I think all that stuff, that old school tough love shit is dead. Um, so I make sure to show up, not just physically, but emotionally too. I make it a point to try to tell my kid I love you all the time. Um, I also try to break the cycle when it comes to how I handle discipline and emotions, because growing up, a lot of us were taught to just suck it up, don't cry, don't complain, just deal with it. But I don't want my kid to bottle things up. I want them to feel safe talking to me, whether they're scared, upset, or even just having a rough day, right? And most importantly, I want them to know that I'm here no matter what. Whether they mess up, succeed, struggle, or win, I'm their dad first and not their judge. I think when you grow up with a complicated father relationship, you either end up repeating what you learned, or hopefully you rewrite that script. And um, for me, in my situation, I'm just doing my best to be the kind of dad that I needed when I was a kid. All right, switching gears now. We're going to talk about postpartum for dads, what no one tells you. Yeah, that's right. I said postpartum for dads. All right, so let's be real. Nobody really warns you about the postpartum as a dad. We all hear about what moms go through, and rightfully so, because it's a lot. But for dads, it's basically crickets, right? No one sits you down and says, hey, by the way, you might feel like a complete mess too. And I'll be honest, I definitely felt like a complete mess, but not in the same way that my wife did, obviously. Um, she was recovering, dealing with all the physical and emotional changes. But for me, I felt like I was drowning in a different kind of way. And some of the things that no one really prepared me for was I thought I was supposed to feel this instant, overwhelming love like you see in the movies where the dad holds the baby and just knows everything is different now. But honestly, I was just tired. I was overwhelmed. And I was really honestly just trying not to drop her when I was holding her. Um, and I just felt this huge pressure to be the strong one. My wife was going through so much. So in my head, I'm like, okay, suck it up, handle business, and don't complain. This is what you got to do. But bottling it up just made everything harder. Um, I also didn't expect to feel so lost because I had this whole routine before. My whole routine, my identity, the way I used to spend my time, it all just disappeared overnight. And it wasn't like I was mad about it, but I wasn't really ready for how much of myself I'd have to relearn. And here's the part that really messed with me. I felt guilty for struggling. Like my wife just had a whole human being, and I'm sitting here stressed about my own feelings. It felt selfish. But the thing is, I realized that it's not selfish, it's normal. And I wish someone had told me that sooner. What helped me snap out of it was number one, I actually started talking about it, not in some deep, dramatic way, but just being honest about what I was feeling. Secondly, I stopped expecting to have it all figured out. I kept thinking, I'm the dad, I should know, I should just know what to do. Nah, man, this was new territory. I had to give myself some room to learn. And the third thing was that I made time for myself without feeling guilty. Um, that was the hardest part. I felt like if I wasn't working or taking care of the baby, I was slacking. But even just taking a walk or working out or just having 10 minutes to breathe really helped me reset. And lastly, I just let the love grow naturally. For me, it built up over time. It was in the late night rocks and the tiny hand grabbing my finger. The first time she smiled at me and actually knew me, like knew who I was, that was amazing. And honestly, I still don't have it all figured out, but I do know that trying to muscle my way through it alone was the worst thing I could have done. And listen, I'm not trying to sit here and I don't have some big dad wisdom to drop. But all I know is if you're feeling this way, you're not broken. You're not failing and you're definitely not alone. It's messy, man. It's exhausting, but you'll adjust and one day you'll look at your kid and realize, "Damn, I'm really doing this." And that makes it all worth it. All right. Balancing fatherhood and personal growth, i.e., your career, mental health, self care. So here's the thing, no one really tells you how hard it is to balance everything, right? Being a dad, chasing your goals, taking care of your mental health, and still trying to be yourself. None of this stuff is taught in school. So you don't really get to know about it till you're actually in it. And when you're in it, it's like you're constantly being pulled in different directions, trying to give your best in every area of life, feeling like you're always falling short somewhere. And for me personally, the hardest part is finding time for myself without feeling guilty. Because there's days when I know I need to step back, recharge, and take a breath. But then I think, should I really be resting when there's so much to do? Because let's be honest, when you're a dad, there's always something. There's bills, responsibilities, family time, work stress, things to fix, things to plan for. The honey do this, honey do that. The honey do list comes out. And what I've learned that if I don't take care of myself, I can't be the dad that I want to be. If I burn myself out chasing work goals, then I end up coming home with nothing left to give at home because I put it all out there at work. If I ignore my mental health, I get frustrated over the smallest things. If I don't make time to exercise or eat right, then I start to feel sluggish and it affects everything. It affects my patience, my mood, just my overall energy. And the biggest shift for me was realizing that taking care of myself isn't selfish. It's actually necessary. Um, that reminds me of a quote or saying or expression or whatever, if you will. It goes something like, "If you're selfish about it's it's important to be selfish about self care." Right? Sorry, I messed that up. Being selfish about self care is the most selfless act of love for your loved ones. Being selfish about self care is a selfless act of love for your loved ones. So, because when I make time to reset and focus on my goals and take care of my mental and physical health, then I show up better for my kid, for my wife, and for my own damn sanity. So, it's not about having that perfect balance. It's about making sure I don't lose myself in the process of trying to be everything for everyone else. And some days that means saying no to extra work or prioritizing sleep or just stepping back and stepping outside for a minute to breathe. All right, this next one's important: fatherhood and marriage. How being a dad changes your relationship. Nobody really tells you how much being a parent shifts your relationship with your partner. That's for sure. You go from just being husband and wife to being mom and dad, and that just in an instant changes everything. So at first, you're all about being in survival mode, sleepless nights, diapers, schedules, figuring out how to keep this tiny human alive. And then in the middle of it all, it's easy to just forget about each other. The relationship that once had spontaneous date nights and long conversations now revolve around, okay, who's going to get up for the baby, or what needs to be done, and how exhausted you both are. And for me, I had to learn how to be a husband and a dad at the same time. And that wasn't easy because before it was just us. We had time for each other. After, it was like our relationship took a backseat because everything became about the baby. And that's where the real challenge comes in, right? Figuring out how to keep your marriage strong while also giving your all as a father. And here's what I've learned is that small things matter. Checking in on her even when I'm tired, making time for a conversation that isn't always just about parenting, and remembering that she's not just the mother of my child, she's still my wife. And to be honest, seeing my wife as a mother makes me love her in a different way. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's something about watching her with my daughter and just seeing her patience, her love, and the way she sacrifices so much for our family. It just makes me respect her on a whole new level. But the truth is that it's something that has to be worked on. You have to work at it, because if you don't, you wake up one day and realize that somewhere along the way you stop being partners, and that's scary. Stop being partners, best friends, and a team, and just became two people that are raising a kid together, which you don't want. So yeah, being a dad changed our relationship, but in a way that made me step up, if you will. It made me appreciate my wife more and made me realize that if we want a strong family, we have to make sure that we stay strong too. Next is the millennial dad struggle and overthinking parenthood. So you ever notice how the second you have a kid, everyone becomes a parenting expert, right? Literally everyone, your family, your friends, just random people that see you with your kid at the grocery store, and the advice that you get, it's just completely all over the place. You got one side, you got the people, the doom and gloom crowd, right? Oh, wait, you just wait. Say goodbye to sleep, say goodbye to free time, say goodbye to your sanity. Or telling your wife you think pregnancy is hard, just wait till the baby gets here, or you're gonna miss your old life so much. Like, really? Come on, man. Can I just enjoy this moment? Then you have the you're gonna figure it out crew, right? It just comes to you. You'll know what to do when the time comes. Just trust your instincts. So you got the two different sides of the coin there. But what if my instinct stuck, right? What if my natural parenting ability doesn't kick in the right way? What if I actually really need help, like practical advice, and not just you'll figure it out? It just doesn't make sense. And of course, you've got the grandparents who either act like parenting was no big deal or hit you with the, we never worried about that stuff back in our day. Cool. But maybe tell me exactly what actually worked and what didn't work. And the crazy part, it's not just in our heads, there's actual data behind this pressure. There's a study from the Ohio State University that found 57% of parents experience burnout, with one of the biggest factors being the pressure to be the perfect parent. That literally means over half of us are running on empty. That we're just trying to keep up with the impossible standard, comparing ourselves to picture perfect Instagram families, stressing over every decision, and just feeling like we're failing if we don't have it all figured out. So there's a book I highly recommend, and it's called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. And in it, he talks about the pressures of expectations, basically of trying to be everything to everyone instead of just being what actually matters. So he says, we can't be everything to everyone, but we can be something to someone. Man, if that isn't parenting in a nutshell, then I don't know what is. Because at the end of the day, our kids don't need perfect parents. They just need us. They don't need every decision to be right. They just need to know they're safe, loved, and supported. They don't even need us to be everything. They just need us to be something solid in their lives. So that quote made me stop and think. I don't have to be, you know, the perfect father. I don't have to get every little thing right. I don't have to live up to some impossible standard. I just have to show up and be present and be the kind of person I want my kid to learn from. That's the lesson, and that's what actually matters. So at the end of the day, fatherhood isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, learning, and leading with love. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to get everything right. You just have to be there, be real, and just keep trying. So whether you're a new dad or a seasoned pro or just thinking about the kind of man you want to be, just remember this: your presence matters more than your perfection. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time.